We have made it. This has been a moment I have been anticipating for well over a year, ever since this incredible being came into my awareness. And I still remember the first time I heard this human speak. And I was just like, whoa, who is this person? And I've been hooked ever since. So Dr. Andrea Morningstar, she's an ascension mentor, an author, a speaker who guides business leaders to pure bliss, consciousness, and life, business, wealth, and beyond. From her inner knowing, she closed her private practice and went into the online space very quickly, creating 6 and 7 figure months in less than a year, while supporting her clients in doing the same as a reflection of expanded consciousness. And she is sitting in front of me right now. I wish in person. We've already decided that's going to happen. Don't be jealous. But she's here virtually with me, you guys. Dr. Andrea Morningstar, welcome to All In with Ali.
Thank you so much. I am so grateful, so happy, and so honored to be all in with you, Ali.
The honor is mine. Man, okay. Where do we even begin? I know where we begin. I want to hear about your background. I want to hear that because to me, I mean, what you have created, what you and your partner Sal have created together and are continuing to create, we're going to go there. And it really is unheard of in so many different ways. And I would just love to hear your background. Where do you come from? How have you become this person that you are today? Take us back, as far back as you want to go.
What a beautiful question. And I would say there's so many different iterations and expressions of me, as all of us, and I'm sure your audience can relate to. We go through these different iterations of what we think we need to do or who we think we need to become, until we come home to the truth of who we really are and who we've always been. And I think if I am to start at the beginning, I got to start with that inner knowing, that sense of before I discovered that I had any interest in creating in this human life, there is something so pure and so real that felt more real than anything outside of me. And that frequency, that light, is what has called me forward into everything that I've created. And I was born in a family of Holocaust survivors that immigrated to Brazil. And so I'm Brazilian. And I grew up in a family that had certain expectations as to who I would become and what my roles were. And there was also a lot of things in the field that were challenging at the very beginning, very traumatic, very challenging, very difficult to be with. And what I discovered as I continue to move through life and through creation is that every challenge, every obstacle, and every choice that I made actually led me back to that initial knowing and that frequency and that light. And so I've done many different things. I immigrated to the US when I was 19 years old, and I came by myself. I had no backup plan, no financial backing of any kind. It was just what I knew that I had to do because it was my highest calling. And I went through a journey, got my undergraduate degree, became a doctor, practiced medicine. I was licensed in the state of Arizona, and I had a private practice. I was a business owner. I did many different things. But ultimately, I knew that the time would come that I would be doing what I'm doing today, which is who I was born to be. It's my highest calling and my highest bliss. And so this is it from the beginning.
When you say that you had this knowing that you were meant to be where you are today, you just had this knowing. I can relate to that on some level, but I'm wondering if it's the same way. And I've heard many other people that I've had conversations with on this podcast, many women that I've worked with. Not everybody, but sometimes I've found that this can be a common theme where it's like, I don't know why. I don't know how. It made no sense, but I felt as if I was made for more, that like I was meant to do something big. Like for me, for example, I came from a very modest background. All of my family, did the standard quote unquote normal thing, normal job, normal situation. And I was like, this is not it. Like, I know I'm meant to do something so much bigger. Not that that wasn't enough, but I just knew. But I'm curious, when you say this for yourself, what did that feel like in your body? Like when you say, and I forget your exact wording here, but when you were in Brazil and you came to the United States and you knew you were pursuing this highest good for yourself, what did that feel like in your body? Like, did you know that you would be a multimillionaire and be earning 7-figure months? Did you know it on that level? What did that feel like?
So to give context to this answer, I have to start by saying that we are all the divine. We're all the all that is. And so I do feel that at some level, one way or another, we all know that we are in a game of creation. We are in this simulation that is life. And we know that there is a reason why we've come. There is something that has called us forward into becoming and coming into have a fully human experience. And for me, what that felt like in my body, even though I didn't know exactly how it would all happen, I have to say, I've always felt very abundant, very wealthy. I always felt that everything I had was a gift, was an expression of love, and that I was destined for more, even more. And not only for myself, but I knew that it was something that I could pass on, that I could transmit and activate in others that may not have had that sense initially, but once they unlocked it within themselves, there was no going back. And I experienced that all throughout my life, no matter how much money I actually had in my account, or, what I had for buying food, or, what I had to eat that day. I always felt blessed. I always felt richly, richly provided for.
Okay. So you come to America, you become a doctor, you establish your private practice in Arizona. What was your specialty? Naturopathic
medicine. So I'm a naturopathic medical doctor, and I specialized in regenerative medicine.
Interesting. Oh, that's very cool. I've heard you talk about that. I forgot that was the specialty. And how long did you do that for?
From the moment I opened my practice, 5 years, that was it. So I retired very early.
Yeah.
But the whole entire career was 12 years.
Okay. And what was it that made you want to take the leap online? What would that look like?
So I was in my practice. It was the world after COVID happened.
Yeah.
And I had decided to move to a new town when no one was moving. And moving is something that my love and I
that is your thing.
Have done a lot. We enjoy experiencing ourselves in that way. It's like traveling and experiencing new realities on a whole new level every time. But we moved when everyone was hunkering down. We decided, you know what will be great? Let's go to another town. And actually, we went to close to where his father was living at the time. And it was the most blessed thing we could have done, because we were able to be with him for a whole year before he passed. And of course, we had no way of knowing, but it was just, again, it was such a gift to have that experience, to be close to him. And I opened a new office, a new practice there, and I had developed a whole protocol for hair restoration, particularly for women who had experienced hair loss. I myself had experienced hair loss as I was going through graduate school, and I knew that there were not a lot of options available in the regenerative field, particularly for women, because a lot of the options are really targeted towards men, androgenic alopecia, male pattern hair loss. And so I had my whole protocol. I really specialized in it, and I had my practice, and I absolutely loved my patients. I absolutely love them. I still did some pain management. Some patients traveled to see me from the days that I did pain management without any medication. That was also part of my regenerative specialty. I worked with pilots and many incredible people. But there was something, again, that I knew that was calling me forward, and there was only so much compartmentalizing around it that I could do, because I could only go so far under the parameters of my license and things that I could say. But I was very transparent, and I was always very direct, and I have no reason whatsoever for wearing any masks. And so when I was with my patients, I would tell them exactly what I saw for them. And I noticed that that's where the real miracles happened. Yes, the hair restoration was great. Yes, living without having to take pain medication is great. And having your body transform and have it not only heal, but thrive. Yes, that is all amazing. And what really actually unlocked it was something beyond the physical medicine that I could deliver. It was often something that I said, something that I saw in their field. And so I decided it was time for me to actually just completely liberate myself, to have the full experience of it, and to deliver in another type of format to different clients, or perhaps some of the same, this transformational work that I had experienced in my medical practice.
So when you say you could see things in their field, what did that look like? Would you call this a psychic gift, psychic ability? Expound on that.
Absolutely. So we are all the divine. We're all expressions of the all that is. And our native language, we have a native language in common, which is the language of frequency. And so we all can read frequency. And what I've found is that the more I trusted myself in really reading that frequency and seeing the patterns, and the more I experienced for myself the truth of who I am and the divinity and who I've come to be and what I've come to deliver, I noticed that the clarity was ever more instantaneous. And so it was not so much that I was doing an exercise to psychically see anything. It's that literally people coming to my field, my frequency field, I see them and I can see patterns. I can recognize patterns, and I just know things instantly by looking at them and reading their fields.
Whoa. Okay. Not everybody can do this. That is so cool. Okay. So, and how long have you noticed this particular, did this start while you were practicing medicine, or has this been always something that you could do even before becoming a doctor?
So that's the thing. I didn't have a name for it or a way to conceptualize it. And so I did it in different ways, even when I was practicing, because I also practiced acupuncture. I also, I trained in many different modalities. And so it was interesting that, I would be reading a pulse. But actually, was it the pulse that I was reading? It really wasn't. I just had my hands there because that was a part of the experience. But what I could read was so much bigger than what the pulse could give me. And so if I were to pinpoint where it started, to be honest, I have memories of when I was 2 years old and I could do it.
Wow.
But it took me a while to trust myself with it and to trust that I was also safe in saying it, in saying what I saw, because not everybody wants to hear it too. And so
Sure.
there's also that fine balance of, am I being invited to share what I see? And then what is the best way to deliver that information or deliver those codes, deliver that activation in a way that actually is transformative and ecstatic, and that can really allow for the person that I'm speaking with, the soul that is in front of me, to actually become the highest version of themselves, to actually live fully liberated, to actually embody the gifts that are theirs. And that's also what I began to refine once I gave myself that freedom, leaving my medical practice and going to the online space.
Okay. Well, do you know what I want to ask you next?
Yeah.
Read me. Heal me, woman. That's why I've brought you here.
That might be my most often, my most asked question.
I'm sure. As you were speaking, I was like, don't do it. Don't do it. Don't do it. Okay. But that, I mean, to me, it really is so fascinating. And in all seriousness, there are moments, because I do believe we all have access. Like you said, we're all part of the divine. We're all, we're all that is. Yes. And I would love to hear your definition of that. We'll get more into that. But there are so many times throughout my life, and call it women's intuition, call it a sacred knowing, who knows? But there are times I know things. I know things. And it comes down to, can you trust that? Where is that coming from? And what you choose to do with that information. So it just sounds to me, well, let me ask you this. Do you feel as if the level that you can see, because I know you speak on sacred geometry, which I would love to hear more about that. Like we can't argue that the things that you're able to tap into is at a level that I would say the average person, I don't know if it's can't or just doesn't know how yet. So I guess my first question for you is, do you feel as if this is something that we all genuinely can do? Or is this a special gift that some people simply have in the same way that other people might have other gifts?
Beautiful question. And it's both and. And so we are all the divine, and we all actually can read frequency. Mm-hmm. And however, we have come forward in physical bodies, in this physical reality, to explore different themes. And so the gifts and the abilities are heightened for the themes that we've come to explore. But we all can read frequency. We all can read energy. One of the examples, actually, my loves to use, Sal loves to use, is that we all can sing. Technically, mm-hmm. We all have voices and we can sing, but they're also professional singers. Or, we all can play. Maybe. I'm saying maybe because I'm thinking to myself, can I play a basketball? Well, I can. Yeah. But right. I'm not.
No, that's actually
professional.
That's a great way to think about it. That lands perfectly for me. Got it. Okay. Yes. So yes, technically we can play basketball, but you're not going to be watching us on TV playing basketball. Same with singing. Got it. Okay.
Exactly.
Very good. Okay. So you're gifted AF. Got it. Okay. My next question, let's talk about the sacred geometry. Yes. When did you start? What is that? How would you define sacred geometry? And when did you start seeing that?
Yes. And by the way, just to say one piece, thank you for the beautiful reflection. And also, anything that we're gifted at, just like the professional athletes, this is our lives. This is what we spend our time and our focus and our energy and everything doing. And so it does expand. Even when we are born with a certain ability or certain things to explore, it does become our reality because we are it. And there's no reality outside of us. But in terms of when I started to see the geometries, I noticed that the more I experienced myself in the higher realms, in the higher dimensional frequency fields and dimensions, the more I started to just see geometry or see this luminosity about people and about things. And so, a way that I like to explain it is that we are not in reality, we are reality itself. Okay. We are reality itself. And so we are all the divine, and everything is the divine. And so when I'm looking at this computer in front of me, or I'm looking at a table, or I'm looking at the flowers, I'm really looking at God. I'm really looking at the divine, and the divine in infinite forms, in infinite ways. And when I am attuning to that frequency, the higher dimensional frequency, that's when I really see the geometry behind it. That's where I see the patterns. And at times, it's hard to describe what I see. It feels like there are no human words. And yet, what I do describe and what comes through ends up being the perfect key code or unlock for whoever is listening. And so I may be speaking, with people that are in very different stages and in very different spaces of their own self-realization as divinity, but they will receive something that is just perfect for them as I'm reading the same geometry and the same field, because it's infinite intelligence. And so it will land perfectly to the divine recipients that are receiving that transmission of what I see in sacred geometry.
Wow. Okay. I saw a post where you were also talking about, you said, and maybe this is the simulation piece. And by the way, see, I'm getting a little self-conscious now because I just need, I'm going to ask you to dumb a lot of things down for me because this is all, it feels so on one level, I fully get it, but on the other level, I don't. So sometimes I get self-conscious about my questions, and I'm just going to be honest about that because I don't know the verbiage and the language to put with it. But I saw that you made a post and you were talking about how everything, is it our coding or the simulation? It's zeros and ones.
Yes.
Right. And you said that it changes. And this goes along, I believe this goes along with what you said earlier, where this is a simulation. Our life is a game. We came here to would it be correct to say that we came here to play specific avatars, to experience specific scenarios? Yes. Can you talk to me about your beliefs there?
Yes, absolutely. And by the way, I feel the same way in attempting to find the language for that which is ineffable. And so we're together in this.
Okay. Thank you.
Thank you so much. And thank you for giving me the opportunity to really explore this together in new ways, going full alien together. This is beyond. I love it.
Yes. Thank you for bringing this down to earth for me.
And me. And so the way that I've come to really understand the human reality and why we're here, right? Because I've spoken a lot about ascension. And with ascension, there can be this perception that we're ascending, we're going high out there, somewhere out there in an alien spaceship and leaving.
Yeah.
When in fact, it's really the opposite. It's about coming in fully, coming in as divinity in human form, being full alien in human form. And the purpose, the reason why we've come to play this game is really to play a game of creation, to experience ourselves in this certain fabric of space and time and limitation and constraints and time delays. Mm-hmm. And so there is a really ineffable beauty about this Matrix simulation, if you will, for those of you who are familiar with the Matrix movies. I would say it is something similar to that, except I would not really go as far as speaking about robots using humans as a source of energy, but more so the idea that the game is perfect for each individual set of eyes, meaning that each person is playing their own game as a fractal of the divine. And so when I say fractal, I mean that we are the divine, we're the all that is in human form, just like a drop of the ocean would contain the entirety of the ocean. And so here we are, but we are choosing to experience ourselves as these personalities, as these avatars. And when I'm looking at the world, when I'm looking at that sacred geometry in front of me, I do see complex mathematics, but it's a beautiful, harmonizing, perfectly rearranging mathematics. It's the series of zeros and ones, and those are referring to as well the polarities and dualities of this world, right? It's yes or no. It's right or wrong. It's this or that. We are not experiencing everything everywhere all at once necessarily, though we can learn how to do more of that. But this game is really intended for us to experience this split. And so what's beautiful about it too is that what I found is that we don't have to stay stuck in the split. And so there is this infinite grace that lands into the experience when we realize that it's both 0 and 1. We get to operate beyond that duality, and the game rearranges itself in front of our eyes. Once we become the source code, the totality of who we are, we come back to love, we come back to who we really are as the divine. There is a level of power that is hard to believe, but is real. And it's experienced, it's known, it's felt, and it is what the masters have done, the masters who have come before us. And we get to do that too. It's not reserved for a select few. It's for all of us who choose to walk that path.
That was going to be one of my other questions for you, is in the same way that some of us can, we're talented singers and some of us can sing, but not as well. When it comes to this level of power that we all hold, when it comes to crafting our realities and shifting our realities, do we all hold the same power in the sense that, let's say somebody's homeless right now living on the street? And clarifying question, is the shift when we wake up and we realize that we have this power? Is that the shift when you kind of wake up from the matrix? You're like, oh, wait, I actually have more control. Is that what that is?
Yes.
Got it. Okay. So let's say you're homeless living on the street, and the odds of you becoming a very successful business owner in a short period of time, most people would say are rare. But does this person have the same level of access and talent when it comes to shifting energy and shifting their perspective, thus their game, the simulation, to create the level of success that they want, as somebody like me who already has an established business? Obviously, the rules of business are going to be, very similar for many of us. There are things that you have to do, but do you get what I'm saying?
Absolutely. And I actually have met not just one, but two people that used to be homeless and are very successful business owners today.
Wow.
And so not only is it possible, but if it is a part of the theme that they've chosen to explore when they came to play this game, it's actually the most probable, most likely outcome. And so what gets interesting is that as we awaken in the game, we get to play with potentiality and shift probability fields. What seemed to look very unlikely actually becomes probable, actually becomes likely. And it's not to say that it's going to be instant, although perhaps one day in the game, that's how it's going to be. But the way that the game is set up at this time of this recording, there is a time delay and there is a series of breakthroughs and leaps that are required for that to happen. But it can and it does happen.
Okay. Let me ask you this. So if we all come here for a certain purpose, to live and experience certain things, how does one feel confident that they're on the right track? Is it your desires? Is it, if you have the desire to be, like, for example, I have the desire to be wildly successful in my business and to experience and touch real wealth, true wealth. It's deep in me. It's been my desire my whole life. Haven't done it yet. I'm on the track. So because I have that desire, would you say that that is the reason why I want that, is because that is part of my personal game and my personal simulation? Or
absolutely.
Okay.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes. Let me
Thank
just
God.
give you the biggest, most the biggest, most reassuring yes, because sometimes it can feel, when it hasn't fully landed yet, it can feel as though, well, was this just for the experience? And perhaps it's not for me, or something like that. And those stories can come through, but that's all they are. They're stories. It's not the truth. Okay. So what we want to do is we want to keep refining our gaze to see highest truth, highest love, and the power of who we really are.
Okay.
And what I've noticed that really actually accelerates that becoming is for us to be very clear about our frequency standards, how it is that we experience ourselves in the game, and about our gaze and our divine gaze, how we look at things. It literally changes what we're looking at. And so
we're going to have to break all these down. This is like, all right, take us through step by step, Queen. You just tell us what to do. Give it to us. Because that's good. That's what we need. There's so much noise, and you know this, and I know that you get this, and you talk a lot about frequency standards, and it's very easy to get thrown off track, and it's very easy to get caught up in a whole other storyline that simply just is not serving us. And that, unfortunately, can really throw people off course for long periods of time. So yeah, can you take us through step by step what that would look like for each of us?
Absolutely. Absolutely. Please. And I do have, by the way, free master classes on this. And so this will be the cliff notes, the highlights.
Oh yeah. And I do not mean to bring us through a whole master class, and I will link wherever you want to send us, tell me, and we'll link it too. But yeah, cliff notes.
Absolutely. Absolutely. So you asked really, how is it that we know that we are on the right track? And that's such a powerful question to ask ourselves, because the truth is we always know. We may tell ourselves stories that we are confused, that maybe not. We may feel a little sidetracked depending on what we're subscribing to. But the real truth is that we know. And we know because of how we're experiencing reality right now. The truth is there is no past, there is no future, there is only now. Past and future are constructs of the mind. And so to predict the future, all we got to do is to notice how we are experiencing ourselves now and the choices that we're making now, and how we are navigating reality in accordance to our standards, and particularly our frequency standards. And so to break that down, frequency standards are about how we choose to experience reality. And so for me, I have chosen very clear standards. It's highest truth, highest love, for the highest good of all. And highest wealth, of course, is a part of that. And that's a whole conversation. But for me, if a decision, a choice is made, but it's not in real love, I already know what the outcome is going to be. So what I do is, as consciously as I can, with the awareness that I have in the moment, I keep bringing everything higher to that standard of highest love. So what that looks like is, if I'm making a choice point and there is something that feels indignant about it, that it shouldn't be this way, and so I'm going to make this choice that it becomes something else so that I'm fixing it, I already know that that trajectory is not going to take me where I actually desire to be, because in that moment, what I'm experiencing is the indignation of it, or the wanting to fix something that is broken. What if nothing is broken? What if I am not broken? What if nothing at all, including myself, requires any fixing? What if actually I can experience the perfection of what already is and bring myself through a higher portal of love for myself and others and all that is, because we're all the divine here. And then from that frequency, I make that choice.
Okay. So, okay. Can you give an example what this would look like? Because I could also give something that comes to mind, but like, there's so many things in my life. And when you say it needs to be fixed, I'm like, oh my gosh, I'm a fixer. I'm like, Miss, come and fix it, especially for my whole family. So when you say, what if it doesn't need to be fixed? What if it's perfect and you're perfect? My brain is like, but Andrea, you don't know my family. They're broken. Okay. So can you give me, or can I give you an example and you walk me through how you would navigate this?
Absolutely.
Okay.
Whichever you choose.
I have a family member.
Yes.
Who has been very combative with me, with other family members. And it's really become a problem, to the point that when we go to get together, it's become this thing of like, well, if this person's going to be there, I'm not going to be there type situation. It's become, it's some mental health issue, some things going on. And it's a very sad situation because it's a family member. And, and deep down, I want us all to be together. So there's a part of me that is like, how do we fix this? How do we, whatever. But if I were to look at this from the lens of the highest truth, the highest love, how do I navigate that differently? Or how would you navigate that? You might need some more context too.
So when I look into the field, what I see is that there is something about the morphogenetic field. And you said it's a family member, but it's also something that has been with the family for a while. And I see perhaps there may have been addiction issues or something that is about finding relief in the wrong places.
Absolutely.
And about, a lot of pointing fingers as well and different things. And so the way that I would go about this, and you can feel free to direct me, is to come to that first and foremost, that standard and realization as to how you choose to experience yourself in relation to this person. And so it's really not about changing them or doing anything for them as of yet. It's really more about you coming home to your truth and what it is that you actually want. Not even what you think is right, but what's the actual truth of what you want. And that truth might be that you don't actually want to be close to this person. And that is something that you get to honor, and that gets to be truth. It can also be that you would like to have this person included, but there is a certain set of parameters in which that would happen. And so you would set it up in a way where when you are present, those are the standards that are met. And again, the standards are about how you experience yourself. And so if there is something that is disruptive, offensive, or really difficult that happens, which I see happens quite a bit, I just see it lighting up in the field.
Big time. You're good.
Then
like, damn, sister. I'm a little nervous. What else can you see over there?
Well, that's the thing. It's only here, and it's only in your personal reality of the game, right? This family member is only in your game for your highest becoming. And that's the trippiest thing to realize.
Right.
Sometimes we think that we need to address someone else out there, but the reality is there is no one out there. There's nothing outside of us.
Oh, man. Yeah, that's a trip. That's a trip. But also when you say that, it lands. It's like, okay, so, and you said it. So how do I want to experience this situation? What would be my highest level frequency of navigating this? So what I'm hearing is it is absolutely okay and necessary to still have boundaries. And it's okay to say, no, actually, I don't want this person in my game anymore. This person isn't allowed to play with me anymore. But it's about how I want to experience myself in relation to this particular person or situation.
That's right. And when you raise your standard, they will either rise with you or they will fall away. But it's not for any of us to micromanage how that goes. And that's also a beautiful example of the surrender into that infinite intelligence, that there is something far greater that is being called through us as us. And we don't know, we don't have all the pieces. We may be able to see pretty far. We may be able to see the frequency and see the patterns, but there is actually something better, higher than we could have ever imagined when we honor what the highest truth is, when we operate from real peace, when we operate from real love. It's the most potent frequency in the room, and it changes everything because we change.
Changes everything. Would you say that's the point? That's literally why we're all here? To just skip to that part where we can see everything through the lens of love is because we've been reading this in Bibles and I mean, across every religion. I mean, this has been the message. And is this what I'm hearing right now with you?
Yes. Yes. We return home, the home we never left. Again, this is just a game. And so we are not actually away from home. We are home. We're just experiencing a dream of creation. But we get to wake up in the dream.
I love thinking of life as a game. To me, it feels more purposeful. It feels like, okay, there's a point to this. I think I get really down when I feel as if there isn't. Like there's not that there's a way to win the game, but in a way that there is. Like when you wake up to yourself and you realize the highest good of all and the highest truth for all of us, which is to love and to move forward and honor your highest level frequency, that's winning the game, no?
Yes. That is where that power really blossoms, because it doesn't matter what arises. We know how to be. We know the codes. We are the code itself. And so we notice that in our presence and through our gaze, miracles do happen. What seemed to be impossible becomes possible. What seemed to be very unlikely becomes probable because of who we are, who we've become, and how we are present to what is.
Can we do an example for this scenario in business? Yes. Because everybody listening to this has a business and has big goals and dreams and visions for what they want to create. And what you have built in your own business is phenomenal, and how quickly you did it. But also I've watched you and I've been in masterminds with you, and And the way you've done it has been so, I guess, frequency first. Exactly how it, at least from what it seemed, exactly how you wanted it to be, and the way that you unfolded. And it's been so incredible to watch because it doesn't make sense. It makes no sense. And when I talk about you, I'm like, guys, she like, go look how many followers she has. Go look at, like, when I hear people gripe and complain about how many likes they're getting on their posts, I'm like, go, like, I was scrolling your feed today and you had posts, which is so crazy to me, with like 4 likes. And I'm like, are y'all mad? Like, there should be a billion likes here. But what you have created, it doesn't matter. What? Go ahead, please. Go ahead.
Yes. Well, it's funny that you mentioned the billions, because that's where I know in my heart, and I know that's the truth, that's where we're headed.
Yeah.
It truly does not matter. And I know you must talk about this all the time.
All the time.
The likes, the metrics, the comments, it really doesn't matter. The reason why I post, it's because it's who I am. It's what I do. These are the creations that are overflowing through me as me. And you wouldn't believe the amount of times that somebody, I've never seen them, I've never heard of them. You look at their profile, they don't even have a picture. There was somebody recently that reached out about one-on-one work with me. And they're asking, hello, what are the options? I would like to pay you right now today. And my team thought it was spam. Like, they just, because it's someone we never knew. They didn't have a profile photo. It didn't even look right. And so they're asking questions. Turns out it's a real person, and it's a real person that is ready to just send me $50,000 right now in that moment, right?
Nice.
For that month.
We love that.
And so, and mind you, that person has not been seen anywhere on my social media.
Right.
Right. And that's perfect. And when I am writing the content, by the way, I'm also writing the content thinking about that person that already is in my world, because we are writing these waves of creation together. And so it's not even all, a lot of times, I have clients ask me this all the time. It's like, well, what would sell more? What can I create that will bring the clients? It's like, you gotta be creating in the truth of who you are. And that's what brings the clients, because we can all experience frequency. We can all experience that truth. And you can even be writing for the clients that already exist, so you have a new experience together. A lot of the content that I write, I actually have people who are in my All Access Ascension, people that are in my programs. They come in and tell me how much that unlocked something for them. And then we go deeper into the experience. Mm-hmm. They will ask for something else because they saw something in the comments that was not even a part of what we had discussed that day or that was in the program. And it all enhances the experience for us all. And so those clients you also may not see commenting on my public posts, right, but we are talking about it inside of our experiences.
Right.
And is that not the point?
That's the point. And I'm so happy you shared that. And I knew that. I knew, like, there are people, there are always lurkers. There are always people that, I'd say a third of my clients that pay me have never commented on one post. They see my stories and they buy. And there are people who have paid me thousands and thousands of dollars I've never had a conversation with. They just buy programs, or I have people who did my membership who I've never literally spoken words to, but they just did all of my programs and they watch recordings so it's just being open to the possibility. It's right. Yes. And is that what you do? Are you just, let's go back to the business example.
Yes.
When you're running your business and as you're bringing your business online, was it simply like, I'm open to it all? You put zero limitations. You put zero, like it would probably take this amount of time. Like we do, right? We set these goals based on 1 year, 5 years, whatever. You were just like, I'm open to make $1 million. Tomorrow. I'm available for that. Yeah, what does that look like through your business?
Yes, absolutely. And so when, so many things I can say about this, but we are experiencing our own game of creation. And so when I'm creating anything, I'm not truly never, ever looking at what anybody else is doing. It doesn't matter. This is my game.
I love that.
If anything, I feel inspired and enlivened by others crushing it or creating, something that was beyond their wildest imagination. I love seeing that. But I don't even take anything from what they've done to create what I'm here to create because I'm on my own path. And so what I've done, when I went online, I did have experience already as a business owner. And so I know that did help me as a CEO because I've been a CEO. But I also didn't know what was happening in the online space. It was all very new to me. And I think that actually helped me because as you said, I just did it the way that I wanted to do it. And in fact, I couldn't keep up with it. For a while, I actually wanted to post, but I was so busy because there were, I started offering sessions and all of a sudden there were referrals. And then all of a sudden I am busy day and night. It was only right before, it was that month. Actually, it was after I reached my first $1 million month that I actually hired a team. And so I was very busy there for a while. And you don't see a lot of me on social media because I just didn't have time for it. And I feel that a lot of our clients are that way as well. They're actually creating things. And so unless you really carve out that time, you might just not have time.
Sure.
And it didn't matter. It didn't matter anyway, because I came forward to create. I came forward to be the fullest expression of who I am. This is who I've come to be. This is what I've come to do. And it simply works. And I don't need to be creating limitations for myself by thinking about how much posting do I need to do or how to go about posting or what kind of posting I do. I do it because it's an expression of me. It's an overflow of me and it works.
Do you guys hear that right now? She didn't even have time to market herself and $1 million month. I mean, that's how free. It's so freeing. Thank you for sharing that because it's so easy and it feels so shallow to me. And I've been tripped up there. We've all done it on some level. But it's so beneath us. We're so much bigger than that. That's what I feel in my soul. It's like, oh my God, I feel like God just like giggles every time we're like, I only got this, but the algorithm. And God's like, are you joking? Like the algorithm wishes. But it feels so real. I guess it's an illusion that feels very, very real, depending on the circumstance.
Yes. And the best way, my favorite way to tell whether something is truth or illusion is, does it change? That is our first hint. Anything that changes is an illusion.
Okay. So you're saying, for example, the algorithm changes. Is that what you mean? Like literally it changes, or do you mean it another way?
I mean it, for example, who am I? Am I my physical body? Not really. Yes, partly, but not, because it is changing over time. Mm-hmm. Am I a doctor? Sure. Have I always been a doctor? No. So if we're attaching ourselves to things that are quote unquote outside of us, there's nothing outside of us, but things that are changeable, like the algorithm, right? The algorithm will have its rules. We can try to set our standards based on what the algorithm is doing, but then we're going to be setting our standards in illusion because the algorithm will do what it does based on many other factors that we are probably not taking into consideration, those data points. And so we might as well become the algorithm. We are the algorithm. We are the ones that actually set how that frequency wave is going to go, and the correct people will find our content. I don't need millions of people in my audience. Mm-hmm. The correct people come to this work every single day, out of nowhere, out of the quantum. They come because it's a perfect match for them, because it is a part of their destiny and my destiny in our co-creations to meet. And so
Yes.
we don't have to work so hard. What if we were to not only know that everything is perfect and harmonious as is, but everything that we've ever wanted and more truly is our destiny? How would we behave then?
Yes. Okay. So I'm a Virgo. I'm
Me too.
annoying. You are? You're a Virgo too?
Yes.
What? Brain is exploding. Okay, well, here's what my brain does. And I feel like maybe you're just better at managing it. I get so caught up in the minutia of how do I set that? Do I need to say a certain prayer? Do I need to set a specific intention? Do I need to, cause I pray over my content. I pray over this. You actually taught me that. And it's one of my favorite things that I do is to pray for my highest good and the highest good of all. I do that with anything that I do in most cases. So thank you for that.
I'm so happy to hear that.
But here's my level of understanding. If you believe it, you're going to see it, right? You're going to get what you believe in this lifetime reflected back to you. So is that what you're saying? You just have this deep, eternal knowing and belief that whether it's a billion people seeing your stuff or we don't even know, let's say there's 5 likes on it. You just have a deep belief that the right people will always come. And it's all in perfect timing and you just genuinely believe that. Or is there an intention that you've set? That's where I'm like, I'm a doer. What do I need to do?
Yes. And I love that. And I have been there too, where I believe that my choices matter more than they do in that sense. If it's, this one or that one. Well, I was born for this. I was born to do what I'm doing. And so, yes, we can always refine. And I also am very selective and I hold very high standards for everything. And so I love experiencing beauty in everything that I create. I love experiencing the highest frequency in everything that is present with me, that is in the business, my team. And so I do a lot, but I do it from a knowing that it already is. And I am just discovering my way through the experience of arriving at deeper levels of that destination now. And so it's not like I am here and my destination is out there. It's more so everything is now, and I am awakening to higher levels of what already is. So in my heart, I know that this is just the beginning. Yes, the multi-millions are great. Yes, transforming lives and experiencing just this massive ripple of goodness has been amazing. And I'm so grateful for it. And I know I was born for more and I will keep going. I know I'm destined for billions. I know that people in my field are too. It is not just for me. There is a whole restructuring of how we experience wealth in our realities. And there is only one of us in the room. There is only divinity in the room. And I know that part of what I'm here to create, my vision, my highest vision as a soul, is for all to experience their true infinity and their true limitless abundance in all ways. And I know that I get to create portals of wealth everywhere I go. And I love doing that. Wealth used to be something that felt unidirectional, like I had to make it so that I could spend it, invest it, give it away. And now it's become something that is far more exciting as I awaken more into who I am, which is everywhere I turn, everyone I look at becomes wealthier by the moment. Because together we create higher portals through which wealth gets to flow through.
Wow.
Because we are those portals. And as we become more of who we are, then the truth gets to be realized through us as us.
That's such a giant context. That's huge. I think I think one of your gifts I know, is how big you play and how big you think and the context that you've attached to your life and your work and what it is that you're doing. And I think for me, and I'm sure many people listening can relate to this too, is sometimes we're playing so small. That's what it feels like. It's like we don't even realize the bigness of who we are and how big we get to go, that we kind of get caught in like the baby pool a little bit, splashing around, feeling like we're drowning. And it's like, stand up for the love of God. Like the water is 2 feet deep and you think you're drowning. Like, step out of the baby pool. That's how I feel sometimes. Do you feel that too?
Absolutely. And the masters speak of that. There is one of the stories that you spoke in one of your podcasts that my love Sal absolutely loved, which was about Master Yeshua walking on water. How does that even get to be the case? And if we can look at it, we are here thinking that we're much smaller, that we are limited in any way. And meanwhile, we get to experience our true power in every now. We get to create what has not been created before. We're creators. That's the definition of who we are. We're creator beings. And so to think that we are limited in any way is an illusion and is what may keep us there in the kiddie pool for a moment until we realize that actually we get to stand up. We get to realize the totality of who we are, because when we're lying down in that pool, perhaps we believe that that's our height. Perhaps we believe that we are that small. But there's also a knowing, and that knowing that we all have, that cannot be the totality of truth. That cannot be reality. It couldn't end there. It would make no sense.
It would make no sense. So it's just remembering. It's coming home. That's what it is.
In every now.
In every now. What happens when somebody experiences a dip? Let's say like they're on the path of, this is my situation actually. Last year, 2022, I gained a ton of momentum and was having the time of my life, had a baby, everything was amazing. And then 2023, it just felt, everything it seemed as if it slowed majorly. And that tripped me the heck up. Like that really messed with me. Like, wait a second. I feel as if I know these things. I know what I'm doing. I know what I'm doing in business. I believe in myself. I believe in my vision. And then these dips happen. And part of me is like, well, this happened for me because I can support other women in this and so on. And, but also there's part of me that's like, is this story that I'm telling myself? Did I need to go through that? So I would love to hear your perspective when somebody experiences what it feels very real as a dip in their results. When the results aren't resulting, what is your stance on this?
My stance is that you're probably taking score a little too soon. You're making it mean something that it does not mean at all. But because you believe that to be true, it becomes your truth.
Whoa. The game's not over yet. I took score too soon. Oh my God. You just changed everything for me. Oh my God. Oh. We've got to stop thinking in this such linear way, right? So do you feel as if like looking at our results on a month by month basis, a quarterly basis, a yearly basis, unless it is a story that serves us, it's just no good. We need to stop doing it.
Absolutely. It's good to be aware of our numbers. So of course, we want to be discerning with taxes and wealth building and all of those things. Those are very practical things. That are, of course, in conjunction with us then not attaching a story to what's happening. Because what if this is giving you the space and the opportunity to go even higher?
Yeah.
What if actually the structure with which you've had your business so far is too small and it is confining for what you're actually here to create? It was an important stepping stone, but it's not where you end.
Yeah. Wow. I'm sitting here, and as you're speaking, I'm reflecting on the story that I've been telling about it, which is exactly what I told you. I experienced a dip because I did something went wrong. That's the story I've been telling myself. And the story that I've been telling on this damn podcast, it has been, well, 2023 was shit. Screw 2023. Dang it. Can we go back and rewrite the story?
Always. There is only now. So you can change the past, by the way, at any time. You can change the future at any time. There is only now. And that's the most beautiful part I find of ascension, is that, you know, those parts of us that we found were the most challenging, the ones that we thought needed to end ASAP, the things that we wanted to change or fix were actually there harmoniously and perfectly for our highest becoming. And it can be so hard to imagine that that's the case when we're going through it, but that's where we develop that mastery and the eyes to see the blessing here and now. You know, Sal and I have had our challenges as well. You may have heard last year we were pregnant with a baby girl and we lost her. And, you know, I was mid also creating a whole program series, Frequency First. I was going live 3 days a week with that, and there was so much happening. And I could have taken some time off, but I decided to continue and to show who I was working with how exactly I experienced that, how I actually navigated it, which was from leaning in, not trying to fix it, not thinking there was anything wrong, certainly not bypassing any of my feelings, any of the grief and sadness and shock, but to actually, at the same time, experience the blessing and the miracle that we were chosen one way or another to be her parents. We felt a very strong connection with that baby girl. And we know it. We received so much in that connection, in that real love that is, it's the real bridge between dimensions. And we chose to truly, profoundly celebrate the fact that we got to be her parents for that amount of time while I was pregnant. And that was a miracle, and that was a blessing. And there was so much that opened in our lives because of it. And it's not that we would wish for ourselves or anyone to go through what we went through. And yet we experienced in real time the real blessing of that unfolding.
Thank you for sharing that. Thank you for sharing that. It's such a real and beautiful example that I know so many people listening can relate to in their own way. And I'm curious if you would be comfortable talking about it and going deeper there. How do you and Sal navigate wanting a child and not having a child earth side yet? How do you, is the story, well, I'll just let you speak on that.
Yeah. So that was actually the third loss for me.
Oh.
And it's been very emotional. It's been very vulnerable. And it's also been a point of deep surrender and connection to the divine, to God. It keeps coming back to that because for me, and perhaps one day we can have a conversation with Sal here too, and I will speak some for him, but mostly for myself. For me, it is only and always about that anyway. I know that we will one day have a child, and I don't feel the need to rush the process or to arrive at any conclusions that it's not meant for us, or to think that anything went wrong. For me, it's always and ever about that deep embrace with the divine and the experience of that miraculous nature through what I may not always be able to understand, but I can always experience here and now.
Mm.
And that love with our daughter, that love with the pregnancies I've had, it is very real. And I, and this time I'll speak for both of us, we feel very excited for what's to come and the discovery of how it will all unfold, because we know that there will be higher levels of realization and understanding of who we are through it all.
Trust, surrender, not taking score too soon, not rushing to tell a story. We don't have to make sense of it all. That's not the point. I think maybe that's what I'm hearing is you've become really good at, if it doesn't make sense yet, that's okay. It doesn't need to. That's where the trust comes in of the highest good and for the highest good of all. Sometimes we don't understand what that looks like from our limited perspective.
Yes.
Well, thank you for sharing that.
Thank you for the opportunity.
How do you feel when maybe when you start working with clients or just anybody that you see in general, people get in their way the most and slow down their evolution or their ascension?
I would say the first thing that I want to say is micromanaging.
Is that the
How they
keeping
get it.
score or okay?
It's the trying to figure out the how without knowing the who.
No, what does that mean?
It means that the fastest way to arrive at where we want to be is to know who we really are, and then navigate through the choice points and navigate through creation. But if we are micromanaging and trying to figure out how something is going to happen, then we can really slow down the process, simply because we're not allowing ourselves to experience the truth in that moment. And the truth always arises and it always wants to come through, no matter how many twists and turns we take. It always emerges from any reality that we find ourselves in. But the micromanaging piece is what I have found can create illusory, but still present glass ceilings and limitations.
Mm. So decide the who first. Come home to who you are.
Yes.
So if I am somebody who is destined to create what I want to create, which is wealth and beauty and transformation for myself, for my family, for everybody in my world, then what I'm hearing you say is that is how I need to make every decision. Those are my choice points. So frequency first. Who am I? And that's where the frequency comes from.
Yes.
Am I on base? Okay. So if everything is in the now, then I'm already wealthy. I'm already there. There's many realities going on. There is absolutely a reality where the wealth is there. It's created. So it's deciding, or whenever I create a piece of content, whenever I create an offer, anything that I do needs to be from that frequency first. That's the only thing that I need to figure out. Is that right?
Yes. And less so figuring out and more so the experience of that frequency here and now. And so, for example, if you want to create, let's say, $1 million day, or
Sure, we'll add that
billions
to the
of dollars.
list. Yeah. I mean, whatever. Okay. Haven't thought about it, but sure. Yeah, let's go with that example.
Then what is the version of you, who you are, and what choices do you make where your future self, the one that is calling you forward to those $1 million days, what is that person experiencing? You get to experience that now, and you make your choices accordingly.
So let's say that version of me would hire you as a private mentor like that, like yesterday. Present me, she don't got it like that yet, right? So that's where I feel like that's where so many of us get a little tripped up on ourselves, because the choice points, or maybe the answer is you would do it anyway because that would change how the cookie crumbles. Is that it?
It depends on how you're experiencing your frequency. So yes, that's it. If you're coming at it with that frequency of love and truth and knowing that that's who you are and that it does work for you no matter what, because it's you. It's not about me as the mentor.
Right.
It is you.
Right.
Right. And it's your truth. And so I am here to open a portal for you to experience the version of yourself that becomes the one that receives the $1 million days.
Mm-hmm.
And I am activating and supporting you along the way, but ultimately it's your truth. It's who you are.
Right.
And so if you invest from that frequency, you then are certain that you can have that outcome versus, and not you, but sometimes investments can be made where it's more of a gamble. It's like, well, maybe that person holds some codes that I don't.
Mm-hmm.
I don't recommend that kind of investment.
Right.
Because if it's coming from that frequency, even if that person, that mentor has all the codes, they're not going to work for you because you didn't come in with the frequency to receive them. And you can only receive actually the activation of your own. You're not receiving the codes from somebody else's game. Remember, we're here playing our own individual games as fractals of the all that is. Mm-hmm. And so it's less about what has worked for somebody else and more so about what actually works for you, what blossoms from within you, what's your highest truth, your highest becoming, and how you live your life and how you create your business from that frequency.
This is so good. Oh my gosh. I cannot wait till this is out into the world. I'm going to like go back and listen to this again and again and again. I'm just like, I'm so present here with you right now. And this is why it's taken me a minute to come up with my next questions, because I'm just soaking all of this up. So thank you for that.
This is wonderful. Thank you for having me.
Okay. We got questions from stories that I've got to get to because they were actually really fantastic questions.
Ooh, absolutely.
So one of them was, what kind of thoughts should someone predominantly hold to be in a state of ecstatic joy daily? Because I think when people see you, that's what they see. I know that's a big part of you that I see is you are light, 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 light. And it seems as if you are just in this consistent ecstatic joy. So what would be your recommendation?
And we get to experience this consistent ecstatic joy, by the way. I love when people discover that gets to be their reality and their truth. And it's not to say that we don't have all of the human emotions. It's that we experience the human emotions from a very different frequency. And I would say that the thoughts are actually a result of the frequency that we have embodied. And so I would actually start by becoming very clear about what the frequency standards are for you. And then you'll notice that you'll start having new thoughts. And you have even old thoughts with new conclusions. And you have real quantum shifts when you experience a reality that looks exactly the same, except your experience is entirely different. And then reality starts to shift in front of you. And it's the most magical experience. But I would start focusing less on the thoughts and more on the frequency.
That's good. Okay. So we're coming at it a little backwards. Frequency first, then come the
Frequency
thoughts.
first. Yes. If we're going to be full alien, it's always frequency first.
And that's what full alien is, well, you tell me, what's your definition of full alien?
I love that took off. I did not expect, by the way, that was a post that I wrote.
I was like, that's it. Mother is mothering. From the mothership. She's speaking my language. Just talked over my mic.
Yes. That's so powerful it is. Because when we living full alien means that we don't wait for anyone else. We don't wait even for reality to catch on. We go first in our truth, in our frequency, and we make no exception. And that's being full alien. It's a very unconditional way of being and leading and creating through frequency first.
Oh, it's an unconditional way of being. It doesn't matter what somebody else is doing or what the situation is or the circumstance.
Yes.
Whoa. That's good. Thank you. That just landed on like a whole other level for me. The word unconditional. It's like, okay, because we can, that's where we come like, okay, what are the thoughts I need to be thinking? Or, but this person is acting this way, or this is how my launch is going currently. It's like, those are conditions.
Yes.
Are you alien or not? Go
yes.
Full alien. Okay. Next question that got submitted. Do you have any non-negotiables when it comes to maintaining your frequency? Do you have daily practices to bring yourself to start at a certain level? I know you're very committed to beauty and it's all frequency first, but what are your non-negotiables?
Beautiful question. For me, my non-negotiable is spaciousness with the divine. No matter how busy it gets and how many demands are on us as CEOs, and there are many, nothing is more important than my experience of the divine in every now. And so for me, it's not even about a routine, even though there are certain things that I do on a daily basis because it brings me that deep, ecstatic connection. It's just making sure that from the moment I wake up, I actually wake up in the game, come home to myself, and then create.
So that could look like anything in the moment, but it's whatever feels good for you in the moment. It could be prayer, meditation. It's just making that space. So there's different modalities that you would do. That part doesn't matter. It's just the time.
Yes. And for me, I spend time in silence. My love and I, we watch the sunrise every day in silence with our cups of tea. And the going into the quantum and really seeing the perfection of life unfold onto itself. And it's also the time when I run my activations. And so when I'm working with clients, when I'm working in different programs, I run activations, I work in these transmissions from soul to soul. And so I also do that first thing in the morning because it's very sacred to me. And it's also something that I wake up excited to do. It's very important that whatever it is that we choose to do, we do it from that real frequency of excitement. It's not a chore. It's the most important thing. It's the aliveness, the effervescence of creation moving through us. And that's why we do it. And that's why it becomes a non-negotiable.
When you do these activations, is this simply intentions that you're setting that you are projecting to these specific groups? What are these activations, if you had to explain it?
Yes, these activations are transmissions from soul to soul. And so everything that I have created, everything that I have experienced, I pass it on in goodness. I hold nothing back. And I do it through a transmission in the quantum, if you will. I upload to the cloud. And then whenever they are in a receptive space and state, they can download and experience what I have transmitted.
That's so cool. You're so damn cool. Oh. Okay.
I feel the same way about you.
Okay. Let's see. I think one more question for you.
Absolutely.
This was another one that was submitted. And we've kind of already talked about this, but maybe asking it from a different angle, something else will come through. And I just want to honor this person's question because I know a lot of people have it. If someone were to quantum leap from 6 to 7 figures, what steps would you give?
Go bigger in your vision. When I experienced that quantum leap for myself within 9 months, that was my leap. That's how long it took for me the first time. I remember, and you might remember me talking about this, I felt like it was a fluke. It was like, it looks like I'm about to have $1 million month. And I can't tell you how I've done it. Is this a fluke? Will this even happen again? Will this even happen the first time? And then once it happened, it's like, will it even happen again? And there are all kinds of questions that can arise. But again, it's not a how, it's a who. And when we know who we are and we're creating with that fierce courage to implement our frequency standards through our choice points, it's inevitable. It's the truth. It must arise.
So as people are, you mentioned earlier this time gap.
Yes.
And doubt threatens to come in. What do you do in those moments? It's simply just a trust and surrender in the same way that you've discussed earlier.
I would say what helps me if doubt ever comes in is for me to look in the now for the evidence of what already is. Not to convince myself, but just to experience it in the now. It's not a mental game, not a mental construct, and not a trying to predict potentiality. It's more so it is certain, and I see the evidence right here, right now in all of these ways. I see all of the people that I have connected with and supported. I see all the money that I have made so far. And it doesn't even matter how much money. I have been a match to this money. I have created this money. It came to my life where it wasn't before, and then it arrived. And I'm able to create more at any time. And I'm able to allow for something much bigger than who I think I am to come through what it is that I'm creating. And that's when the real magic happens.
Wow. Oh, I love you. I do. I mean, I always have from the moment I've met you. I've just like, it's like I've known you in a past life. I'm so thankful. I've just got to sit down and talk to somebody I admire as deeply as you for an hour and a half. And I'm mind blown. I mean, the feeling of that I have in my body right now of gratitude is just so deep, so real. Thank you so much for taking the time to pour into us like this. Thank
you
you
for having me. I love you. And for me, it's the highest delight to get to co-create at such a high level together. I mean, for me, this is truly the point that whatever didn't exist before gets to exist because we've come together to create it.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm going to cry. Oh. My life has been about discovering just how good it gets. And it keeps blowing me away that it's better than I could have ever imagined. And for me, you are a living demonstration of that and our true and real connection. It doesn't matter when we speak. Mm-hmm. When we do speak, it's just a burst of creation, a burst of bliss and ecstasy and fun. And that's what I've come for. And I'm grateful to have the opportunity to do it together.
This has been freaking amazing. Amazing. Where can I'm going to link you in all of the things, but is there a specific action you would have anybody take if they're like, holy macaroni, I need this woman in my life, masterclass, Instagram, what would you have them do?
There are many different ways in which you can enter this work. My favorite at this time is through All Access Ascension, where we have this experience together and we are in a community of high frequency creators. And so there's nothing like it. We are creating entirely new experiences every month, and we're going higher and higher together. And if you're not at all familiar with frequency work, or even what frequency is really, frequency standards, you might want to check out Rise to Ascend, which is my free group for high frequency creators. And also, we are in development at the time of this recording of the Morningstar app. And so coming very soon, without you needing to log into social media, you can just have us on your phone on an app, the Morningstar app, and we'll have a free section. We'll have a membership section as well. And we are so excited for you to experience this as an experiential Netflix for the soul. For whatever it is that you're looking to create, whatever it is that you have that deep yearning in your heart, that you get to experience it in real time.
Whoa, when is that going to be complete? Do you know?
It's in production, okay, I believe in the next month or so.
Really? That soon? Oh, yes! Oh my gosh, this is so exciting. Congratulations.
Thank
yay.
You.
Oh my gosh. Okay. Well, this is all very good news. So I'll get with your team. I'll get all of the links to everything you just said. But for now, thank you. You are just such a reminder of how good it gets to be. And for that, I cannot thank you enough. So keep going full alien for us, because we're right behind you and we're catching up. And I can't wait to sit down with you at some point in person and cheers and have another conversation like this.
That flight is happening.
I know.
We are meeting somewhere in the world.
I know. It's done.
It's done. It already is.
It already is.
Thank you. And we're all together, by the way. There is only one of us in the room. We might be having different experiences in creation in our individual games, but ultimately, we're all riding this wave of creation together.
So good. With that, we're going to end this. Thank you, Dr. Morningstar.
Thank you.